Hey guys, welcome back to The Simple Idea. Thanks for checking out this week's episode, and for those of you who follow the show pretty regularly, I'm trying to get back onto a consistent schedule, so please bear with me. But with that out of the way, today I got a chance to sit down with Samuel Beckman, and he is an Australian tech YouTuber and filmmaker as well. The majority of his content focuses on mobile technology and more so Android-related stuff, and I figured it'd be a really cool and informative conversation to have about intentional technology usage with somebody who's so actively involved with it. So I don't want to spoil the episode too much, giving away things that we talked about. We're just going to hop right into it.
Sam, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad myself. Really excited to hop on this, I guess you could say call type of interview style thing we have going on here.
Absolutely.
But really excited to do it. You're a YouTuber who I've watched for many, many years, and just because I was like very early on into Android and just mobile technology, so it's kind of cool to be able to sit down and have a conversation with you about things I would have never expected to ask you.
Awesome, man. That's great.
I don't know a whole lot about you, though. That's the best part. So
yeah.
I do want to ask you just like your origin story and what I'm starting to do with guests that do come onto the show. The show is called The Simple Idea. So I'm going to ask you, what was your simple idea and how did you get started in tech? And just kind of give like a brief little like background story behind who you are.
Sure. So I, for the longest time, have been super passionate about filmmaking in various formats. And so, throughout my high schooling, we call it here in Australia, I got involved in media and was making short films and whatnot. And then I studied TV production at university. And through that, started getting really passionate about filmmaking. But what I realized a little bit later on was that I'm a pretty massive introvert, believe it or not. And so I was making these short films and being involved in these different productions with lots of people, and was finding that I was just getting super drained. And it is draining filmmaking, and I don't necessarily expect it not to be. But I had this idea of what's something that I could do where I'm making films and that I have a creative outlet, but perhaps in a more contained format. And so I was just watching some YouTube videos and stumbled upon a few different tech reviews of mobile phones and whatnot. And I thought, gee, that's a fascinating idea in that you can make some sort of high quality video content, but just of something so small as a mobile device. And I really, really liked that idea of having, a product that isn't a person with emotions and whatnot that I have to navigate, but it's just a device that's small and that I can shoot in a room potentially and still, play around with cinematography and whatnot. And yet they just stay still for the most part. And so I really found that to be a fascinating idea that I can take such a small product and film it, and I don't have to ask it to smile a certain way or to say something a certain way. I found that idea of being able to film products and things of that nature really fascinating. And that was where I started. I just thought, okay, I can make films or short films with devices, and that's something that I was really excited about the prospect of.
Okay, awesome. So filmmaker at heart, excuse me.
Yes, correct.
Really cool.
Yeah.
What were you before you got into the mobile side of things or just tech related stuff? What were most of your films about prior to that?
Yeah. So look, I worked for a television network here in Australia, and so I was doing a lot of just video editing for it was a news network actually, and so I did a lot of editing for that organization, and then I started working for an events production company where I was a video editor for that company, and just made corporate films and things like that, and then at university though when I was studying or at college, what do you call it? University or college, or what do you call it over there?
Here in the US we call it college, but
yeah, okay.
I've heard university too.
Yeah. So when I was studying my TV production course, there were quite a few units in that course where we sort of had to collaborate with either big groups or small groups to make short films and to make commercials and things of that nature, where you're collaborating and working in that sort of a context. And then on my own, I created. I loved making, made a couple of short sort of horror thriller films as well, just to sort of whet my appetite and for some different projects here and there. Whether it be school projects or university projects. So those were the sorts of things that I was making prior to focusing on the mobile side of tech.
Okay, it seems like you had like a pretty diverse background going on. You tried a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's right. And I honestly, I do really still, have aspirations to make short films, to make narrative content. I actually really like making documentary style content as well. And I sort of find that I have a bit of a natural ability at making documentaries, but I am really, I still enjoy the idea of making narrative content. I just haven't yet got the outlet for it. It's a lot of work. And you've got to put in a lot of commitment in terms of both financial and time. And so it's something that I have sort of stayed a little bit, distant from for a while. But, maybe in the future I'll go back to making narrative content. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so you're not completely locked into one style of filmmaking. It's kind of just like you're going to attempt to see other outlets or see what kind of arises.
Look, I think, in terms of my YouTube channel, I will most likely stay with technology, at least for the foreseeable future. And I do really like filming things related to technology because, as I said before, it's a really cool creative outlet, but in a contained format. So it makes, that process of actually just getting out there and starting to create really easy and accessible, which I really like, because I'm one of those people who, if something's just that little bit too hard, or, I have to chat to someone or script, a whole short film and then, organize budgets and whatnot, then if I find any excuse, then I'll probably put it off. So with tech, it's really accessible and it's really easy to make content about. So that's why I'll probably keep doing it, because it'll force me to keep making content. And I really do find technology fascinating and interesting. And so that's why, I still make videos about it and I do enjoy it. So I'll probably keep doing that as well.
Okay, that's awesome. And all right, that kind of leads me into the direction of the conversation I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Focus in on anyway, which is more like just kind of society's experience thus far with technology, and kind of like you being in the middle of, you being a reviewer of it, you being a very conscious consumer of it. I feel like you'd have a very interesting perspective on, I don't know, just your overall experience with it and where you think it's heading. And slightly before that, I just want to ask you one other question, and this is related to mobile technology still. Your videos kind of primarily focus on Android phones.
Yeah.
For the most part, I would say. Just want to get your general thoughts on iOS and iPhone.
Yeah. What are you? What are you still an Android user? I know you mentioned you were, but are you still on Android?
Yeah, it's Android ride or die, man.
Yeah. Good one. Look, I love Android. I really enjoy the customization of Android, as you'll probably know from watching some videos on my channel. That said, I actually tend to find myself customizing my phone less of late. But that said, I still enjoy the flexibility of, getting a new phone and being able to set it up the way that I want it to be set up and the way that I want it to look and feel and whatnot. But in terms of, iPhones and iOS, part of me is like really jealous of iOS because of how just how fluid it is, because I have used many iPhones in my time, and in fact before I started my channel I was using an iPhone 4S or something like that before switching over, and then really enjoyed Android. And my wife uses iOS, and she is on the flip side, she's ride or die iOS. She refuses to try Android, which is a shame. I'd love to convert her, but I can't do it. But who knows? Maybe in the future. But yeah, I really, really like the fluidity of iOS. It's just so smooth and seems to be dare I say, a heck of a lot more reliable and bankable in a sense than what Android is. It's a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to Android, where you get some phones that are just super reliable and super speedy and whatnot, but there's also a lot of phones that there's glitches and hiccups and I find that that's a higher risk when moving to Android. But high risk, high reward, in my opinion, because I think Android's a lot more fun to use. But I think the fact that Apple have kept iOS so locked down and so contained for such a long time, we know that does help them. It means that they can optimize their software to work, as good as possible on their phones. And we can see that their spec sheets for the iPhones are often not nearly as good as what we see on lots of the Android flagships that are being released, and yet they work just as fast, if not often faster. And so that's attributed a lot towards how they've contained iOS. So that part of it, I am envious of, and I sometimes wish my Android phones were a little bit more fluid and a little bit more reliable compared to iOS. Just comparing it to my wife's usage, obviously. I know a lot of people have issues, with iOS as well. So it's not flawless, but it just seems to have less issues in that sense. That said, I do, when I've used iPhones, I do miss that flexibility. The fact that it's so locked down, and there's there's a limited amount of things that you can do with your home screen or with whatever else. You can just change your wallpaper and that's about it. There's no icon packs, no widgets, no nothing. Oh, well, there's widgets, but they're in that side screen that you have to, it's in that one spot, so you can't exactly. So yeah, I do miss that. But I do have an appreciation for what iOS is and for how simple it makes using a phone for a lot of consumers out there.
Yeah, I've been like back and forth and on the fence of using different Apple products and then going back to maybe Microsoft products, or going back to mobile's Android. I haven't come close to buying an iPhone.
Yeah, okay.
But it's very enticing. You know what I mean? Like you said, if you want a phone that works, it works all the time.
Exactly.
Never really any issues. It's fluid, very seamless.
That's right.
And very simple too, which is like, you really appreciate that aspect of it. But then
totally
by going to that, this is a sense of just it being very generic, and
that's right. Yeah.
I don't know what you can do with it.
Yeah, for me, it just gets boring after a little while, and that boring is good for a lot of people. But as a content creator who is making videos on phones, it's very easy to just get bored quickly with a certain software experience, and so that's a good thing that you move from iPhone to iPhone. They're all very similar software experiences, but it does get a little bit boring after a while. So I don't know. It's a fine balancing act of what do you prefer, reliability and fluidity, or flexibility and creativity, I guess you could put it perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And
That's
just
good.
to add one more comment to that particular question I asked you, like I still use a Galaxy S9, and that phone's coming up on 2 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, in the US, I don't know how it works in Australia, but in the US, for a while, like 2-year plans were a thing.
Yeah.
2-year plans are like not really a thing anymore, but it's kind of just like the general consensus, like, every 2 years you're supposed to get a new phone.
Yeah.
So I'm approaching that 2-year mark, and I'm just like, okay, time to get a new phone. Let's get a phone.
What are you thinking of getting?
Well, here's the thing, right? So originally I was gonna like speed it up a bit and get the Pixel 4.
Yeah.
But I'm probably gonna hold off. I'm just gonna wait till the next Pixel.
So hold on to your S9 until the Pixel 5?
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
or
interesting.
What the S11 looks like, and I'm just like,
yeah.
But at the same time, like, my phone does everything I need it to do.
Yeah.
And it works perfectly. It hasn't skipped a beat.
Like,
there's nothing wrong with it. So is there really need to
upgrade? Yeah.
And that comes back to the customization aspect of Android, because I can change just very small things with my phone, and it'll feel like a brand new phone again.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I loved about Android, particularly in my early days of running my channel, is that I could have one phone for 1-2 years or whatever, and just every couple of months, once I'm bored, I just switch it up. And you're exactly right, it felt for me like I was getting a fresh phone, because it was a different software experience. And for me, that's definitely just the experience of using a phone trumps, design. And I've said that in a few videos on my channel that, the design of a phone is important for perhaps the first week or two of using a phone. But then after that, it you forget about it and you don't even think about it. And for a lot of people, you even put on a case on your phone, so you don't even get to appreciate the design. So for me, being able to switch your software experience up and enjoy that aspect is actually more important than the design of a phone.
Absolutely, because like at first, obviously, it's going to be mesmerizing. It's amazing and beautiful and sleek.
That's right.
But a few months from now, it's just a phone.
Exactly.
It still is a tool that
Yeah,
you
that's right.
to use.
Have you used a Pixel phone before?
No, I haven't actually.
Have you been with?
Oh, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, have you been with Samsung? As long as you've had Android, or what have you used?
So primarily, it's actually primarily been Samsung phones. So the very first smartphone I ever had was a Samsung Gem, if you're familiar with that.
Wow. No, actually, believe it or not, I haven't heard of that.
I highly encourage you to look it up after we're done talking. It was, at the time, it was amazing. I was in middle school, so I'm like, oh, I have a smartphone and I can play games on it. And, I'm a kid.
Yeah,
so
nice.
That smartphone is awesome.
I'm just looking at it now. I've got the computer in front of me, and wow, that's a throwback for sure. But looks fun.
Very, very yeah, it definitely was at the time. Yeah. So pretty much all Samsung. Like my first major smartphone was probably my mom had an old Droid 2, I think. And I was one of those.
Wow. Yeah.
For me personally, Galaxy S4, Galaxy S7, S9. And here we are.
Okay. Interesting. So my first proper flagship, believe it or not, when it comes to using Android phones was the Samsung Galaxy S6, and loved that phone. And then after about a year of using it, I switched over to OnePlus and loved that. It was OnePlus 3T, and that started my somewhat addiction, will I call it, to a bit more of a stock Android experience. And I loved, Oxygen OS, and back then it was even closer to stock Android than what it is now. And then it was always about, if I really like, Oxygen OS, which is close to stock, I think I need to give, a Pixel device a go once they were released a couple of years later. And man, it's tricky to go back. I always find myself using Pixel phones now because of the software experience. So, man, just be wary once you switch over to Pixel. It might be tough to go elsewhere.
Yeah, I feel like for the longest time, I've always wanted a stock Android experience. Like all my themes on my phone have been like close to stock Android.
Yeah, me too.
Close as I can get it with Samsung.
Yeah,
like I've had old Nexus tablets and stuff too. So once I get there, like you said, I probably will end up staying.
Yeah, that's it. You most likely will. You do get somewhat addicted to it, which is a good thing in a sense because you're enjoying your software experience more. But again, it makes me very apprehensive to use other Android devices as my daily driver. Happy to use them to review, but yeah, as my daily driver, it's hard to step away from Pixel now.
Yeah. Well, I'll see when it gets there, but
yeah,
for now I'm gonna hold off. S9's still doing its job, so I can't complain.
Good call, man.
Right. So on to the next question I have for you, and this is focusing in on intentional tech usage. So just kind of considering that your career is heavily centered around technology, do you find it difficult to step away from it outside of your working environment, or have you found a balance that kind of works for you?
Yeah, it's a good question, man, and I am thinking about often how to find that balance. I think even disregarding my YouTube channel, just in life, generally speaking, I think we all experience that balance or that tricky balance of trying to make sure we're not consumed by technology and particularly our phones too much. So yeah, I do think about it a lot, and there's some great software features that have come out lately, like Zen mode on the OnePlus phones, or digital wellbeing, or screen time, I think it's called on iPhones. But that sort of help you manage your screen usage and help you perhaps put the phone away. That said, I don't really use those software features as yet, which is perhaps not a great sign. But yeah, look, for me, it's about trying to put in some rules in place, in my personal life. So I've got a baby boy. Well, not really baby anymore. He's a toddler who's 15 months old, and and trying to think about, when he's awake. He sleeps a couple of times a day and then obviously overnight. So thinking about when he's awake, putting the phone away and not really being on the phone. And that's easier said than done sometimes, because you've got things to do sometimes during those parts of the day as well. But that's something that I do, or at least I'm striving towards, getting towards a point where anytime that he's awake, the phone's up on a shelf and I'm not thinking about it. So that's sort of one thing. And just trying to carve out time in the week, to be intentional, as you said, with not using my computer. That's another thing, using my computer. I feel like, watching YouTube videos, trying to get inspiration for my own content. That's something that's really easy to excuse and to find yourself getting carried away with. And you can spend hours if you want to watching YouTube videos. So it's about trying to be intentional and putting the computer away, putting the phone away, and trying to just be present with the people that you're with. So like when you go out for coffee or for dinner or lunch or whatever with friends or family, really good habit to get into is just to put your phone somewhere else. I find even if it's in your pocket, you'll feel it vibrate and you'll want to check it. Even if you have good self-control, you'll want to check it. And eventually at some point you'll slip your phone out of your pocket just to see what that notification was. And so if you instead put it away, put it, in a drawer or on a shelf or for me, we often have a pram with us, putting it in the bottom of the pram or whatever it might be, that is often really helpful because it means I'm not feeling those vibrations. I'm not, hearing notifications coming in and wanting to check my phone. And I actually find that when I do that, I forget that my phone's even there, and it's a really healthy thing to do. Something that I'm not always good at. There's still a lot of room to improve in that area, and I think part of it is, I have a fascination with technology. I enjoy using technology, so there is sort of a bit of a hobby side to it as well, and so I excuse myself in that sense. And sometimes it is okay to be on your phone, during other parts of the day when I'm not. Perhaps when my baby's up or whatever. But yeah, I think those couple of things are good habits to be practicing, and that's what I'm certainly trying to do, and hopefully getting better at in the new year.
Okay, yeah. Not too long ago, or actually within the past year, for myself, I feel like I've been able to kind of, moderate my usage of my tech a lot better, and that kind of started with me. Not being as active on social media. Not that I was super active to begin with.
Yeah.
But, an hour or two can slip by throughout the day.
Totally.
Just not not even paying attention to it.
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
So actually on that point, I've found even a really helpful, because I've done something similar. Twitter is sort of my main social account, if you will, and I do enjoy going on there, but and it is easy to get in the trap of being on Twitter for a little while as well, but I find that it's a lot easier to just do a quick flick and then get out of it compared to, say, Facebook or Instagram. And so I find a really helpful tip, aside from just uninstalling the apps on your phones, is just to put them away in a folder or not have them on your home screen, or somewhere that's just not as accessible. Because I often find, because I used to have all of my social media applications pretty much on my home screen or within a folder on my home screen, and so it's just really easy just to tap on that folder and go into it because they're sort of staring you right in the face. But on my recent setup, which I've been using for a number of months now, and you can actually see it on my channel, it's my latest What's on My Phone video. I've put Facebook and Instagram into a folder that's not as, it's sort of disguised by an icon, whatnot. We won't go too deep into that, but honestly, just because they're not visible and in my face, I find myself using them a heck of a lot less, simply because I forget that they're there. So often I get to the end of the day and I'm like, oh, I've got nothing to look at on my phone, which is great. That's a great thing to do. And then I go, I haven't looked at Facebook or Instagram all day, and I don't even feel like I need to anymore. It's sort of, I've gotten out of the habit of feeling like I need to check those apps. So it's Yeah, that's a really helpful practical thing that I've found has helped me. Just going off your point there about stepping back, use of social media applications and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Actually, I didn't even think about that, but that's actually a very interesting strategy
Yeah.
to kind of make mask your icons so that you're not really paying attention to them or like actively viewing them.
That's right. Yeah.
And
So,
I do that now. I didn't think of it until you said it.
but so that's what you do as well, or
Yeah, I mean, I technically do the same thing. Like
Yeah.
the way my home screen's set up, I have my most used apps, which are just a bunch of random apps that I use throughout the day.
Yeah.
Nothing in particular. So it might be like Spotify or like Google Keep or
Yeah.
uh,
Productivity
Galaxy
apps or
like
yeah, not
like productivity apps, like random things like that.
yeah, and cool.
Yeah. So and then I have a social media folder, but I have YouTube as the first one. So
Yeah.
for me, I have YouTube as the first one because that's usually what I go to first. But I usually have like not as much time to watch YouTube videos because when you're sitting down watching a video,
Yeah.
It's anywhere from realistically like 2 minutes to 10 or 15.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't always click on the icon, but after that icon, there's a bunch of other icons like Twitter and Instagram,
Yeah.
Reddit, all these other things that I kind of forget about until I open up the folder.
Yes,
So,
that's right. You have to, it's that extra step that you have to take, which can sometimes help in not actually taking that step, which is good.
yeah, I never really thought about it like that, but that's actually you make a good point.
Yeah.
So going off of that, I feel like you already have the answer to this question because you kind of mentioned it very briefly.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Mm.
So, how do you feel about digital minimalism? Like, is it practical for most people to try to clean up their tech hygiene,
Yeah.
or is it something that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of this whole conversation about intentional tech usage?
Yeah, I think it does matter. I think for everyone, so I do find that we often, we sort of touched on it already, but we often use apps just because we've been using them. It's a habit that we've gotten into, and in actual fact, we probably don't really find that much fulfillment out of using those apps. It's just because we've formed this habit, and so if you go through. Let's start with just applications on your phone, and you actually think about, okay, what apps do I actually need? And we probably could argue that we obviously don't need any apps, but let's be realistic. What apps do I actually really want to check and find useful and perhaps entertaining? And what apps are there that are just sort of filling space in a sense, and that I don't actually enjoy using, but I just do it because it's a habit. And if you just go through and uninstall a heap of apps that fit that category, which I think is heading towards that digital minimalism and just, scaling back how many apps you have installed on your phone to just, a bit of a bare bones setup. I think that is actually really helpful and really healthy as well. I love that terminology, tech hygiene. I think we all need to have improved tech hygiene, whether we're already great at in the way that we use our phones or whether we're addicted to our phones. We all need to take even a further step towards improved tech hygiene. And so I do think that it does matter. And so if you can think about ways to limit how many apps are even on your phone, or and another thing is YouTube, as we mentioned before, is a bit of a maze in a sense, where if you start watching one video, with the way YouTube's designed, you're onto the next, and then you're onto the next, and then 3 hours later, you're like, what am I doing? Still awake, sort of thing. And I've found, and it's hard to do, but because I primarily just watch videos in my subscription box. Rarely do I, find myself going down that that maze of recommended videos after recommended videos. But with the amount of subscriptions I have, that can sometimes be a 1 hour session of just catching up on the videos that have been uploaded in the past couple of days. And it used to be for me, I need to get through every video, that whether it takes a day or 3 days, and I just get through them bit by bit. I wanted to get through every video. I don't know why. And so for me, I started practicing not watching every video, only watching videos that that I was intrigued by, whether it be the topic. I was maybe producing a video of a similar similar style or topic, and so I was watching it for research purposes or whatever else. But often someone in my sub box might upload a video on some latest Final Cut Pro editing tip. I don't use Final Cut Pro. Why on earth do I need to watch that? So it's sort of, but I find them fascinating. So it's easy for me to get caught up and watch them, even though I don't find them beneficial. So I've found cutting out those videos that aren't going to be helpful for my workflow or for entertainment purposes either. Just cutting that out. And I don't know if that's unique to me, that maybe not everyone finds the need to watch everything in their sub box, but yeah, that's been a helpful thing that I've found putting in place of late. Has helped me move towards a bit more of that digital minimalism that I think is a healthy thing.
Yeah. Okay. So based off what you just said, I have like several different sub conversations that I could have with you right now. You said a few very interesting things that I kind of want to throw my input in on.
Yeah.
So first, the YouTube thing. I feel like for me, there's this pressure because I'm somebody who watches stuff in my sub box, and on top of that, I typically watch the recommended content just to see if I can find new content creators that I like, or maybe there's something out there that I'm not aware about. So I'm like, okay, let me just keep clicking and watching. And like you said, YouTube's kind of set up for you to keep watching, obviously.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm just falling victim to their trap of keep watching.
Yes.
But even with the videos that you say that you find interesting but you might not necessarily need.
Yeah.
Do you ever get to a point where it's a bunch of videos that you do or what you would find value in, but there's still not enough time to tackle that in one sitting? Do they just sit there?
Yes.
What do you do then?
Yeah. So
I'm in a very similar situation with that.
Yeah. So often what I'll do is I'll just open them up in new tabs, and I will have them sitting there, and so it might take me a couple of days to get through 5 or 6 videos, depending on how busy I am at that time. Because I actually find, I don't know, I actually don't know how I compare to other people in terms of how many people I'm subscribed to. But actually, if I had to have a guess, I would say my subscription list is somewhat smaller than most people, if I had to have a guess, but I don't totally know. So often what I'll find is that there might be actually a span of 5 days where no one in my subscription box has uploaded, or perhaps, there might be 1 or 2 videos, and it's just easy to, watch them at some point. So what I do find is that throughout a week, I'm able to have a few tabs open of YouTube videos that I'm wanting to get to. And it's just about finding that space in the day to watch them. So whether that's, when my little boy is having a nap, perhaps, or at night or something like that. And, my wife and I, we decide we want to do a bit of a, get through a couple of YouTube videos. And that sounds a little bit lame, but, you just find space in the day to watch them. And then, there might be other times as well, where you have a little bit of an availability. And I generally will never watch a YouTube video, when my kid's awake. And so that means, if he wakes up and I've got 5 or 6 tabs open with videos ready to go, might be a couple of days before I get to all of them. So that's generally how I roll. Are you like to get through all of them in one go, or how does it work for you?
No, so I kind of move them around. I end up taking advantage of the watch later feature that they have. So what I do is I kind of rearrange them based off of how relevant they are to each other.
Yeah.
And based off of time. So it's somewhat structured. So I'll say I have a bunch of videos on everyday carry stuff. And most of those videos are from 3 to 7 minutes, and there's 4 or 5 of them. I'll try to watch 2 or 3.
Yeah. Okay.
If I have time in between classes or something, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
And then usually it's in between different time slots on my schedules when I take care of it, but I watch it in that structure. And usually by the time the day ends, I'm not able to watch most of them because I'm just gonna guess I might have more people I'm subscribed to because there's always something in my inbox.
In your sub box.
Yeah, my sub box.
How do you find out how many you subscribe to?
If
your channel.
I honestly don't know. There's a way to.
Surely.
So I'm going through subscriptions now. There definitely is.
It must be,
so
but
YouTube now. There's no specific number. It just has the channels.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hang on. I'm going to try and figure this out, and let's actually see. Okay. It says I'm subscribed to, hang on.
Oh, yeah, you might have to.
So it says show 23 more. So 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So I'm subscribed to 30 channels, but I want to say about 10 of those channels, maybe even more, are like somewhat inactive now, or maybe they're like a second channel that I've created back in the day, or yeah. So that's 30 channels, but maybe 15 that upload regularly.
Okay, so I'm still scrolling, if that gives you an idea.
Okay, so
I had at least 400, yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so definitely a lot more than I do. I'm very selective with the people that I subscribe to. So I know before I mentioned that that I don't watch recommended videos, but that's definitely not true. I do watch recommended videos, but within the realm of what I'm interested in, which is, it sounds like that's obviously, similar for you as well, and probably for everyone. But I generally, if I see a recommended video on the side panel that is just irrelevant, then yeah, I'm not one of those people to go on a bit of a hunt to find completely random content creators. So if I'm interested in watching a review on a camera, then I'll watch that review, and then you obviously want some other insights as well. So there'll be recommended videos, and then I find that I will watch. I want to say something like 10 videos on a channel, maybe even more, over a long period before I go, yeah, you know what, I've watched enough of these videos now to, it's worthwhile for me to actually subscribe. Does that make sense? So I never sort of subscribe straight away. I want to know that I actually want to go back and watch this person's content. So that's probably why my list is perhaps a little bit smaller. I'm a little harsher with how many people I subscribe to, and maybe that's a helpful tip that we can all take away is don't be so fluid with how many people you subscribe to. Make people earn your subscription.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because I'm looking at my subscription box now, and a lot of these channels I don't even get notifications when they upload. I mean, granted, that's something that's been an issue with YouTube to begin with, but a lot of these channels I haven't watched in months or years, if that. So I might just have to go through and do a whole cleanup.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I might have to do a cleanup.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
You kind of already briefly talked about some of these things already too, but I'm gonna see if I can get some more out of you to see if there's any other things that you have to say about this.
Yeah.
In your own opinion, do you think that there's an issue with the way the average person consumes media or technology? And I know you can't speak for the average person, but if you were to assume, based off of your day-to-day life.
Yes. Yeah, look, I'd say yes. And I've got to be obviously careful. As you said, I don't know the average person, but just even looking at statistics of mental health issues, that are so prevalent at the moment, I think that a big part of that is use of technology. And I was at a conference 6 months or so ago where the speaker showed us a statistic, and they showed a massive spike in mental health issues in around, I think it was 2011, massive spike, like a ridiculous spike that's just not normal. And they said, can you guess what happened in that year? And it was the year that Instagram was released. And honestly, that was obviously we know all this stuff. We know that social media plays a big part in mental health issues, because we're always comparing ourselves against people who are posting highlight reels of their life. But that was even more of an eye opener. So I definitely, you can't think that there's not an issue with the way that the average person consumes media or technology. However, I will say that I think in the past maybe year or so, there has been maybe a step towards improving that, which has been, I think, really healthy. And there's been a conversation that's been started up around issues with use of technology, and even the fact that companies now like Google and Apple and OnePlus and Samsung and all that, they're actually putting in software implementations to help restrain our use of technology, I think that's phenomenal, because up until this point, starting, I mean, the biggest example I can think of is Facebook, but then Instagram and so forth, these never-ending news feeds that are designed to keep us on, on the app or on the website, that's been, the way that companies have been focusing, how do we keep people on our websites? How do we keep people on our apps? That's what they've been prioritizing. And then I think the last year or so, a couple of years maybe, companies are actually thinking about the well-being of their consumers. Now, obviously, part of that is to get people to use their phones as well. So they're still trying to get people to use their phones, and they're pitching it as though, hey, we're trying to get you to use your phone less. But despite the fact that it is still partly a promotional thing that they're pushing, I think that's a good thing. If that's the byproduct, that people will use their phones less, then I'm happy for them to do it, even if it is purely just to get people to use their phones. So I do think that there is a bit of an issue. There has been a big issue, and I've seen that, in my involvement with teaching as well, just to see that there's, just seeing the stats of mental health. There's no denying that there is an issue with the way that the average person consumes media and technology, particularly in the younger generations. But I think we are hopefully pushing towards maybe some improvement there. But I think we've still got a very long way to go.
Well, yeah, I think this is all very new technology to us. I mean, we've only ever, like, social media is a brand new thing, in the past decade.
That's right.
Over a decade, actually. So we're still learning the effects of it and what it's, how it's really affecting us.
Totally.
And this is actually something I've been interested in since I've been studying in school. And
yeah.
I'm actually wrapping up like a group research project in one of my classes where we kind of designed a survey and use like actual data, trying to figure out how this technology, mainly like social media and Instagram, how it's affecting people from like a mental health standpoint.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's a very interesting thing, and I do think that I personally thought there was an issue with it to begin with, and I still think there is. My findings for the study, nothing crazy happened, and it was a very small sample size. But I don't know. I still think we should be very conscious and still ask questions and try to see how we can improve our relationship.
Yeah.
With this technology.
Cool. Yeah, totally.
So, next question for you. And you already answered this a little bit. I know you said software is definitely helping. But what steps can most people implement to have a healthier relationship with these available tools? And let me try to frame this a little bit differently too. What can people do on their own without the help of additional technology?
Yeah. Okay. Do you mean like in but are they still allowed to, install applications and whatnot, or no?
Well, yeah. Well, I do think you should be able to install an applications or still rely on technology to help you do this.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna make it tricky on you and see if you can come up with anything, because I'm just curious personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So without the use of technology is basically what you're trying to get me to see if there's a good solution.
Yes, that. But then again, if you also have tips for with technology, those are welcome.
I certainly think we've probably covered a number of tips related to technology. Digital wellbeing, Zen mode, screen time, those sorts of things on devices are helpful. I don't know how much people are using these software tools and other things like having rules in the day. Perhaps set rules about when you are going to use your phone, when you're going to allow yourself to consume technology and media and whatnot, and then other set times in the day where you say, no, I'm not going to touch my phone, or I'm not going to watch YouTube videos or whatever. So I actually think I'm a really practical person, so I need those sorts of tools in my life. So yeah, I think, as I mentioned before, having that sort of framework in my mind of whenever my kid is awake, not touching or not watching YouTube, not touching my phone if I can help it, and not using certainly not having my computer open as well, and just being engaged with my kid and playing with him and going out to the park and whatnot with him is definitely a really practical thing, and that's helpful for me because well, I have no choice about when he's awake and when he's asleep. So it's just like, okay, he's awake, let's do it. So for other people who perhaps don't have kids or are in a different life stage, that's a little bit trickier. So I'm going to have to think, rack my brain a little bit harder for that. But I do think still having sort of rules, if you will, that you implement yourself on your day. So okay, maybe you wake up and you check your socials, but then once you've, I don't know, had your morning shower or you've eaten breakfast, then you make a commitment to step away from technology for whatever it is, however long is going to work for you. And I think something that puts people off from implementing these sorts of systems and rules in their own life is they think it's too big a step. And so just start with a small step. So whether it be, okay, I'm addicted to gaming or I'm addicted to watching YouTube videos all day. Okay, rather than watching YouTube videos all day, maybe you instead, even for half an hour throughout the day at different points, like 10-minute chunks, you go outside and sit outside. Or maybe even further back than that, maybe you take your phone outside or whatever it is and do something outside. And then hopefully that'll become a habit. And then once you've done that, then you can start going, okay, now I'm going to go outside and I'm going to go for a half-hour walk and not touch. I'm not even going to bring my phone. Or another really easy thing, I think, for a lot of people, whether you have kids, whether you're married, whether you're single, whether you don't have kids, whatever your situation, studying, working, is perhaps maybe from dinner onwards, you say there's no form of technology, whether it be your phone or your computer, whatever you find yourself addicted to the most. You just go, okay, after dinner, or no, as soon as dinner starts, even, I think it's probably a bit healthier. That's it for the day until I get into bed. And maybe you give yourself 10 minutes in bed and then you're off to sleep. And I think that'd be a really helpful first step because it's practical. Most people have dinner in the day. So it's something that we all can relate to. And I think that is a healthy thing. I think that can set up some really helpful habits, and that you can just develop on as you get into those habits. You can start, maybe increasing the amount of time that you're not on your technology. Does that help? Does that answer that question?
Yeah, you just gave me like 1,000,000,001 different possibilities. So I'm just curious to see what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to like provide my own idea.
Okay.
And kind of just like talk about that. But basically, what you said is just find something that's practical and personal that works for you.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest step, and I agree with you wholeheartedly with that, is just being able to take that first initial step. Don't, jump right into it. Maybe take a baby step.
That's right. Yeah. Some people cold turkey is going to work. Some people are able to do that and just go, nah, that's it. I'm doing half a day without technology or whatever, and that's fine. That's great if you can do that. But for those who are a bit overwhelmed at the thought of stepping away from their technology, yeah, even if it's just 10 minutes, every couple of hours, that's a small step is going to put you in the right direction. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a little bit different, but something like a tomato timer.
Yes.
And that goes back to you like saying like maybe 15 minutes in the morning before you take a shower or something like that.
That's right.
Something like that where you just have like a block of time that you set out.
Yeah.
Obviously will help. But yeah, a lot of the solutions that you kind of talked about, those are really solid solutions, I think.
Cool.
And it really just comes down to making the commitment to.
That's right. Yeah, you got to just make the call yourself. No one else is going to convince you. And at the end of the day, you've got to make that decision and that commitment, and only then will it maybe work. It might not even work. So you've got to have that commitment, which I think is hopefully people come out of this and think, yeah, you know what, might give this a go.
Yeah. All right. So one other question, and this is kind of backtracking. So
yep.
It could be a very quick response for me. I'm just curious.
Yep.
So we talked about the software side of things and how that can like help, regulate your usage of social media, or just your phone and whatnot. Is there a specific app that you recommend to most people if they're trying to do that? I don't use it myself. I feel like my usage is okay, but for those of us who are probably struggling, what would you recommend?
Yeah, look, it's a great question. I've showcased a number on my channel in the past, but and so there's like a few apps that are actually very similar to like digital wellbeing. It's like digital wellbeing, but available for any device. It doesn't have to be a Pixel device or whatever. I think most Android 10 devices support digital well-being now, or they have their own version if not. But so let me think. Specific app. I'm actually just going back to my list of apps that okay, this is the one that I showcased in the year, which was called Action Dash, and it's got a really similar look and feel to digital well-being, and you can set up basically usage limits so that as soon as you get to a certain time limit in an app, it'll block you from using it. And I think that's helpful to have those limits if you're really struggling. And often you might ignore, or you might go in and disable that warning, but just even having that warning, that reminder, is going to start that movement towards perhaps better usage of our phones, because you're thinking about it. Because that's the issue. More often than not, we're not thinking about it. We just do it. And then we get to the end of the day and we're like, oh, I probably used my phone too much today. So having a reminder is that first step. So Action Dash is the one that I recommended throughout the year. I think last year recommended one called Your Hour. So that's another. Both of these are Android apps, free and fully functional. Not sponsored as well. So yeah, they're just digital wellbeing apps pretty much, and they're probably a good place to start.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to link those in the description of this episode, and I'll check it out myself, actually.
Perfect.
Yeah, very smart tool to have, actually.
That's right, I think so.
You can't take yourself off, the application will do it for you.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Right. This is coming up on the last major question, and then after this, I have a brief little sequence where I ask you a bunch of quick questions just to get some very just unique responses and things that you might not have. It doesn't really apply to the episode, but
yeah.
Just very unique random topics.
Cool. Sounds
Last
good.
question for you. What do you think is the worst possible outcome of an abused relationship with digital media? So essentially an outcome where we don't fully grasp the power of what we're using.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. You can go to the extreme, obviously, but we won't go there. I'll go with more of a realistic worst possible outcome, which I think is just someone developing a real lack of social ability, being able to interact with people in real life because they're addicted to social media and interacting with people online, that they don't actually learn those social skills. And in fact, yes, it may be a worst possible outcome, but I think it's a real one we do see today, is people not having the ability to interact with people in the real world, and that can have other consequences as well that can be really damaging. And honestly, that is something that I think that's the most perhaps the most prevalent issue with social media, is that we're losing our ability to connect with people in the real world, and that's a real shame. So I think that's with people who don't have a grasp on how influential social media is and digital media, that's a realistic outcome, to be honest. Even though it is probably the worst possible outcome, it's very realistic. But I definitely think, people not being able to interact in the real world is an issue, and therefore, I think moving on from that and becoming isolated or doing other things or whatever, I just think that's a bit of a risk that comes with abusing, our relationship with digital media.
Okay, so becoming so comfortable online that it's almost uncomfortable to be present, which I think is, a theme that kind of shows up time and time again. And
Absolutely.
A lot of the research studies that I've read personally, they explore that idea and try to find an answer to that question.
Totally.
So I think it is a very realistic possibility. And okay, so like I just mentioned prior, we're getting into the quick questions. So
quick questions.
They don't need
Let's do it.
responses, but take your time with them, however long or short you want them to be.
Yeah.
Just questions that I personally have for you. So first one.
Let's do it.
What key lesson or experience has been instrumental to get you to where you're at in your career right now?
Yeah, totally. I think for me, in terms of being a content creator, I found when I stop creating regular content, when I stop creating regular content, that's when I struggle the most to create content. So I remember a couple of years ago, I had some time off, which I always like to do in the year, take some time off from creating videos. But then when I came back to creating, my first video after having a little bit of time off, I found it really, really hard to do. And I was a bit, struggling with enjoying the process of making that video. And, even questioning, oh man, maybe I've lost my joy in creating YouTube videos. And it wasn't until I started making videos and I sort of forced myself to finish that one and upload it and publish it and just sort of move on from it and then get on to the next one and so on and so forth, that I started really enjoying it again and finding that efficiency in my workflow sort of coming back to me. And so I've found that if you're someone who enjoys making content, and whether you're doing that on YouTube or elsewhere, doing it regularly is super key to actually developing efficiency in your workflow, which for me is really important. If you don't have efficiency in your workflow, you are going to really struggle to keep making things, and because you'll get frustrated and whatnot. So definitely, consistently creating content, making videos, even if it's a quick video, just to get those creative juices flowing. That's really helpful, and something that you need to sort of commit yourself to doing. Whether if you're doing YouTube, you sort of need to commit to it yourself. But otherwise, if you're making videos for clients and whatnot, you just need to keep thinking about how can I make more and more content so that it becomes easier for me, which means in my sense, the easier creating content becomes, in a sense, then the more enjoyable it is, because you're not overwhelmed at the prospect of creating that next video. So for me, that was really a turning point where I was like, no, I've got to keep consistently creating and trying to find ways to do things efficiently in creating videos.
Okay, yeah. I think I personally needed to hear that, actually, because I started this podcast in the beginning of the year, and when you start off anything, you're really excited and motivated to do it all the time.
Totally.
And like happens, or you get lazy, or a bunch of other things happen.
Yeah.
So throughout the year, there were times where I fell in and out.
Yeah.
But it was somewhat regular. I might miss a week or two here and there, and come back and upload 3 or 4 straight. But the past 2 or 3 months, I want to say, I was just extremely busy with school and work and paying bills and trying to graduate and whatnot. So all that combined with not uploading, you're actually the first person I'm speaking to on the show in 2 months.
Yeah,
so
wow.
I'm still trying to get back into the swing of things, and I don't completely feel as comfortable as I would want to be.
Yeah. And it happens to the best of us, man. You take a little bit of time off from anything, and it's about forming habits. And so, you get out of the habit of creating. So once you get back into the swing of it, a couple episodes in, you'll be flying, mate. No worries.
Yeah, which is really motivating to hear, just because it really does come back to consistency, like you were saying.
Yeah.
All right. So I like to ask every person that I have on the show, do you personally have a favorite creator, or is there someone that you've pulled influence from over the course of your career that's kind of helped you shape to be who you are, or this kind of have elements?
Yeah. It's going to sound a bit, I don't know how many technology YouTubers or content creators you had on your channel, but honestly, the person who kickstarted my YouTubing career, if you like, was Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD. I watched his review of the Samsung Galaxy S6, and I thought to myself, oh yeah, that seems like something I'd like to do. My videos are definitely very different, I would say, than his videos now, because I've developed my own style, and that's come from watching other people and whatnot. But honestly, getting into the technology YouTube game, I would probably attribute mostly to him. So that's what I'm going to say.
Oh, nice. Out of curiosity, excuse me, is there anyone else outside of tech, or was it mainly just tech for this?
You don't
have an answer for this, by the way. I'm just
let me think. I can't really think off the top of my head. I probably will think of someone as soon as we end this conversation. But I think that's where it started.
No worries then. So this is one question, but I'm going to turn it into 2. And it's going to be very quick. What is your favorite smartphone of all time, and what is your most used app on your phone?
Ooh, good question. And it's really hard to think about what my favorite smartphone is, because I feel like
Mhm.
every new smartphone I use almost becomes my new favorite because it's better than the one that I used before. But if I had to think of a defining moment in my smartphone usage career, for lack of a better term, it would probably be the OnePlus 3T, because, as I mentioned earlier, that was my first foray into a bit more of a stock software experience, and I haven't turned back from that. That has sort of set me on this trajectory where I've enjoyed using stock Android-esque software experiences on phones, and yeah, so I'd probably look back on that as my favorite smartphone of all time.
Okay, nice.
Oh, and you said most used app. Whew.
Yeah, most.
I'd probably have to say it's a bit of a boring answer, but probably be Twitter. It's pretty much the only social account that I use, apart from Gmail, obviously. But if you can even call that a social account. But like, if we're going away from social media, which might be interesting, let me just I'm just having a quick look through my list of apps here. Honestly, man, I'm a big fan of Launcher version 2. I know I talk about this on my channel a fair bit, but it's a launcher. It's a home screen launcher. A lot of people love Nova Launcher, and for good reason. But Launcher version 2 is like a stock launcher with just as much customization flexibility as Nova Launcher, and it's very regularly supported and updated. So that's probably, apart from Twitter, that's actually probably my most used app. It just doesn't feel like an app because it's my home screen launcher. So there you go.
Very fair answer there. All right, and this is the final question that I have before we wrap up this conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you guys have pancakes or French toast in
We have
Australia.
both. We do have both.
All right, awesome. Because some people are just like they don't eat it at all, or
Yeah.
they've never heard of it. So, pancakes or French toast, what is your go-to and why?
And honestly, tough question, because I'm not a massive fan of either, although I do have both from time to time, because I like them in theory, but then I eat them and I'm like, oh, just feeling a bit, I don't know,
Bloated?
feeling a bit, yeah, exactly, bloated. That's a good way to put it. But if I had to pick one for, let's say, the rest of my life to eat, it would probably be pancakes. I think a little bit more versatile. You can put different toppings on. I mean, you can do that with French toast too, but yeah, I think a little bit more versatile in what you can do with pancakes. So that's why I'd probably choose pancakes. But that said, I do have French toast from time to time. So yeah, no, but I think pancakes.
Yeah, so that was an ongoing debate between me and one of my friends. But your team pancake, which is all that matters. I don't need any explanation.
Okay,
But,
good.
Sam, it was a pleasure to sit down and have this conversation with you.
Absolutely.
Where can I direct my audience for you for
Yeah,
any
sure.
projects you're on or merch, whatever you have you find yourself working on? What can I help out with?
YouTube.com. Yeah, so youtube.com/Sam Beckman is obviously my main platform. I'm posting, that's where I post all my videos, obviously. And then if you want to get behind the scenes, details and insights into, my usage of phones and how I enjoy phones and what I'm doing in my daily life, twitter.com/Sam_Beckman or Instagram.com/SBeckmans. Sam Beckman or S Beckman was not available, unfortunately. So yeah, those are the sort of the behind the scenes spaces that you can follow me at. But definitely, if you haven't checked out my channel, youtube.com/Sam Beckman, that'd be awesome. I'd love to have some of your listeners over to my channel and they say hi and say that they came from your podcast, and yeah, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. All right, guys, so go check out his channel. I'll be sure to personally follow you on Twitter because I don't think I follow you right now.
Excellent. Get into it.
YouTube. I'll let you follow. Not as active on Twitter, but I'll check it out again.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming on and talking conscious tech usage with me.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.